So this is where I was. It's that straightaway. It's right there behind the truck going this way. Valley's going this way. And I was parked on this road. Probably right about where that snow is there. Then there's rock up here. I'm going to show you with this camera what we're looking at, right? So that's where my slide was. So that's where my snowmobile's parked. You can see the side of the valley creeps up the bottom of the swamp. And that's all those, there's huge cedar trees in there. They go for all the way back down the valley. And it's just dark and spooky. And our stand that we made is about, I don't know, it's probably about 400 yards, 500 yards that way. And I was back that day. I was trapping wolves. I was back in there, and all that thick tangle of shit in there. I was a couple hundred yards in there. And the big swamp, all the water's back that way, about another 400 or something. And I could hear that the trees were getting blasted right above me on that side. And my sled was right there, and then something was banging on a tree right above me on this rock, somewhere around up there. And it was deathly quiet. It's probably minus 15 out, minus 20, maybe an hour of light left. And this snow is probably about 4 feet deep. Not a track on it, but mine, just my snowmobile track coming in here. And the main road is out on the other side of my truck going left or right. And that's where I was. Got the camera in the truck. But anyway, so that's where I was that day. And where I was that day when a couple of somethings or somebodies decided they, who knows? I mean, who knows? That the hammer knocking of me blasting that hammer on the tree. Who knows what you're telling them, right? Who knows what it means when you knock on the side of that tree yourself? Who knows what it means? Well, obviously, a lot of people do that intentionally, and they get results. They get sounds coming back. I'm just not into it. I almost should have thought about that back then while I was doing that, but I didn't have I would have thought in a million years that something like that would have happened right here with 4 feet of snow on the ground in the middle of winter. But it did. There's nothing I can do to change it, and there's no reason why I wouldn't share that with all of you today or anybody else, right? Why not? Anything to be ashamed of? Nope. Am I lying? Fuck no. And there isn't a man big enough in the face of the planet to shame me into changing my story about any of these experiences that I've had. It'll never happen, and I'll fight to the death over it. It happened. Didn't ask for it. And it's happened numerous times. And I've seen these things twice for certain, maybe 3 times. And there's nothing anybody can do to change that fact. And it's not going to happen. So that's why I'm here today. Definitely more intensely now. I mean, I didn't really give a shit about what other people were doing. I didn't give a shit about Sasquatch groups and all that other horseshit going on. I've seen the damn things. I accepted it. I've accepted it, carry on, and make do with what I've got, and enjoy my lifetime as best I can, and keep doing what I'm passionate about, which is the outdoors. And I subconsciously avoid these beings intentionally where I know that they've been often. I just avoid those areas. If I don't avoid them, I'll go in there and I'll just test the waters. I'll see if I feel nervous or if I feel that kind of pressure, your hair standing on end. If I do, I'll just turn around and leave, and I'll come and try another time. And if it feels okay, then I'll go for it, and I'll go hunt or fish or do whatever it is I'm doing, and I carry on. But since I came out and admitted to all of you publicly, and only because of popular demand, I was just getting hammered on nonstop from the how to hunt hunting and angling knowledge, social media, my apps, and people were saying nonstop, "Come on, man, you gotta have a Sasquatch story." And then, like I said before, I mentioned before, I thought about all the people in the past, my grandfather especially, and then I'm like, yeah, screw everybody, man, I've seen one. Make me not say it out loud. Dare you, right? And that's why we're here today. But then all of a sudden, thousands and thousands and thousands of people were eager and hoping to use me as a conduit to share their experience and help them get over what they potentially had go down without them asking. So if anybody's wondering why I'm doing this, there you go. There's your answer. How do you turn your back on all these people? How do you turn your back on the truth and not support your fellow man in your communities, any community, anywhere, right? You can't keep turning your back on these people, and it's come to an end. It's got to stop. So here we are. And I don't know what brought me up here today. I don't know. But here I am. I'm back. I haven't been to this spot here in a few years anyway. The stand is back in there. I don't really feel like going in there. Not going to go in there today. Maybe another time. But anyway, yeah, I'll tell you what. To be way up here by yourself, hike back in that swamp right there, and have to snowshoe out. Because that thing was right there, right above my snowmobile, beating on a tree. And I had to snowshoe straight to the... I had to snowshoe straight underneath that thing. But I had to snowshoe straight at that thing, at that one, to get to my snowmobile, which is right below it. I had a 243 rifle with me, pop gun, and that other thing was beating on a tree behind me in the direction about right above me, right up there. That thing was beating on the tree there, back and forth, and I had to snowshoe straight out towards that one to get to my sled, and then I had to start the damn thing, and then I had to turn it around right there, and then burn out to the road here, hang a left, and then I just pinned it. And there was nothing fun about it. And I didn't look back behind me, I didn't look up. I just wanted to be somewhere else at the time, right? But anyway, let's see if I can share an email right here while I'm here. It might be something else if it happened again while we've got the cameras rolling, but I kind of highly doubt it, because apparently guns and cameras are a good deterrent, right? Thank God. And I got no shortage of them. Hi Steve, I recently found your YouTube channel and find it very interesting. I appreciate the time and effort you put in reading others' emails of their experiences they've had in the wilderness, as well as your personal experiences. Thanks, man. No problem. It's easy to do. I've always been an avid camper and hiker. I enjoy the great outdoors. I never really thought about Bigfoot, but also never dismissed the notion of it, as I've always kept an open mind. It would not make light of another person's experience. The emails that you've read have brought to the forefront something I experienced 20 years ago, and never really knew how to put it all together until now. July 20, 2001, I packed up the family, ex-girlfriend and the 2 kids, me and my daughter, ages 8, 9, and 10. My daughter being the youngest. And we had appointed going camping 2 or 3 times each summer. This time we went up to one of our favorite campgrounds in Bruce Peninsula National Park in Ontario. We also had some friends with their families attending this trip. Altogether we had 4 campsites relatively close to one another. When we arrived at the park rangers informed me that they had a rogue black bear in the park they didn't recognize that had been causing a nuisance, and that we needed to take precautions. They handed me a pamphlet on bear-proofing our campsite, and then we proceeded to our site to set up camp. This is the first time ever that we were going to go camp for 11 days straight, and we were all pretty excited about it. One of the families that came camping with us consisted of mom and daughter only, on their own site. After the first night of camping, we got up and found that we had had a bear on our site overnight, and it tried to get into my locked up truck to get to our stowed food. Another one of our friends had a bear get into the back of his truck and ate his trail mix. Bear prints were everywhere, all up and down our trucks. The single mom and daughter pulled up in the car and said, "We're not staying here another night." Apparently they had something outside their tent most of the night, rubbing up against the tent, making strange sounds, what seemed like pebbles and twigs being thrown at the tent. And there's mosquitoes, they're out. Bloodsuckers. The second night, as we were all around the campfire, I kept getting the feeling that we were being watched. Something was telling me that we needed to leave. We never left. However, the first time ever, I slept with a large knife on one side of me and a hatchet on the other. In the middle of the night, I had to go for a piss. Now, normally I'd walk down to the outhouse, but for some reason I didn't feel comfortable with taking that walk. So I stepped to the side of our site, and as I was doing my deed, I felt the same feeling. I was being watched. Such an uncomfortable feeling overwhelmed me. It was so dark out, to the point that I put my free hand up in front of my face and I couldn't see it. All I kept thinking was, there could be anything right here and I wouldn't know it. The kids are here and sleeping. What have I brought them into? God, no doubt about the kid thing, right? I just make sure there's no groggy grizzly bear walking up behind me, because obviously you guys can't tell me to turn around, right? I stayed up for the rest of the night in front of the campfire to keep watching, and that feeling never left. The next day I noticed a couple of tall, thin poplar trees behind our tent had been snapped halfway down and bent to the ground. The break point was about 7 feet up. I thought that was odd. How could a bear have done that? I don't recall seeing that these were snapped when I was setting up camp and the leaves were all still green. I didn't see tracks of any kind, nor did I hear these trees being snapped. Odd. The last day when I was packing up camp, I finally saw that rogue black bear as it finished tearing up my neighbor's campsite about 40 feet from me. This thing had to have been upwards of 500 pounds. Funny thing, I didn't know he was there the whole time he was going through their cooler and tent. I didn't get any odd feeling at all. I wasn't being watched. But something was definitely keeping an eye on us the whole time we were camping there. This is definitely the most uncomfortable camping trip I've ever had, I've ever been, and I've never been back there. Anyway, thanks for listening to me and keep up the great work. It's nice that people have a place to talk about things without being ridiculed. Take care out there, Craig. Thanks, Craig. Appreciate it, man. Appreciate the encouraging words, and I appreciate you actually went out of your way to hammer out that email and send it over. Yeah, absolutely appreciate it. And as far as when people say I was probably a bear, I was probably a cougar. The odd time you can feel it. I've had my sixth sense ripping when I had a pack of wolves above me on a rock years ago in the snow. And I only found out it was wolves the next day when I went back again. But as far as bears go, not really, man. I mean, one time I was right in there. I was in that swamp about 300 or 400 yards from here as the crow flies that way. I had a kid with me, and we were looking for bears. It was the exact same time of year. I'm walking along, I'll never forget. The kid goes, "Hold on, I think I see a beaver." I'm like, "What? A beaver?" "Yeah, I think I see a beaver right there." And we look over, just like I look over, this great big, dark male grizzly bear was coming. He was coming on a collision course with us like this, and he was about 20 yards away, and he stepped up on a stump. I'm like, "Whoa." And I put up my gun, and I just calmly said, "Hey, bear, you better leave," like that calm. And he looked, and all of his fur puffed up like he's a big dandelion, and he spun, took off that way, straight back towards where the slope of the valley goes up. But I didn't have sixth sense tingling, You don't have your sixth sense tingling when it's something so innocent, nothing's focused on you. There's a bear right there 20 yards from me, a grizzly bear, and you don't really feel it. So, that sixth sense thing, right? It is what it is, but it works. You got to listen to it. And again, like for you, Craig, you sought out this channel and you sought out my email address to email us this story because you know exactly what it was you experienced, right? If your gut is correct, your gut is telling you the truth. If you're confused, it might have been a bear, you're not going to go out of your way and email me. It's just not going to happen. Wouldn't make sense, right? But anyway, let's go get another one. Steve, I'd like to start by saying thank you for being someone for all of us to share experiences through. I have multiple stories for you. The first two from me, one from my close friend Sam, and another from my father, who is, as we say, someone who thinks these things are a joke and do not exist, even after what happened to him. Yeah, it's kind of funny people do that, right? My name is Frank, 28 years old, and I live in West Michigan. My first experience happened when I was 17. It was the opening day of rifle season. I was extremely excited to hunt and try to harvest my second deer ever. Since I was so anxious and I could not sleep, I decided to get in my stand a little early, roughly 5 a.m., maybe slightly earlier. Shortly after I climbed up in the stand, I tucked my head and my arms inside my coat and started playing some games on my phone while waiting for daylight. After about 15 minutes, I heard some leaves crunching. It was the sound of footsteps. Thinking this was a deer and it was still pitch black, I just sat there and listened. The trail I would walk to the stand was basically an old golf cart trail, or a two-track. The stand was roughly 75 yards off the trail, and I followed a deer trail to the stand. The footsteps sounded like they were coming from the two-track, but the opposite way I would park and walk in from. About the time the footsteps stopped, I thought that sounded way more bipedal than a deer walking. The footsteps started again. This time they were coming right down the deer trail and they sounded heavy. About 30 yards from the stand on the trail, there was a tree that had fallen, around 8 to 10 inches in diameter. The walking stopped there and I heard bang. It was that downed tree snapping and it sounded like a gunshot. As I was shitting myself, the walking started again and got closer and closer until it stopped at the base of my ladder stand. I could feel it touch the ladder and it shoved the ladder over. This tree stand had been there for years and the ladder was at least 6 inches in the ground. I didn't make a peep. I felt like I couldn't even breathe. Then as quickly as it walked up to me, it was gone. After it became daylight, I popped my head and my arms out of my coat and sat there not knowing what to do. I got down and didn't hunt for years and made excuses why I didn't. Fast forward 2 years ago, opening day of bow season. I decided to take my wife hunting. We set up the blind the night before and decided we would get to the blind slightly before daylight. It was raining, so I zipped up all the windows and said I would unzip them after the rain stopped, trusting the Weather Channel would be right, and it would stop right at daylight. As we were sitting there, I began to feel uneasy. My wife leaned over and she said she didn't know why, but she felt terrified. Thinking in my head, not again, F me. I heard something rub against the back of the blind. The sound reminded me of if you took your fingernail and ran it along a tent. Sounds like a zipper opening. We sat there both very afraid. I never heard anything walk to us or away from us. We sat there until complete daylight and we left. Steve, those are my two stories. I don't know what these things are, but I have a strong belief that after they know you exist, they like to F with you. Been fishing on a few different rivers in the area for steelhead, and I heard owls along with feeling like I'm being watched. Here are my friends and my dad's stories. Sam's story. Sam was fishing the Hex Hatch on the Jordan River in the Upper Peninsula trying to catch some trophy brown trout. Fishing at night, they were at least 7 miles from where they parked and hiked in. While he was fishing, he had a rock thrown at him and splashed right in front of him. He said the rock was big enough that he heard the splash and heard the rock hit the bottom of the river. After that, him and his friend got out of there and have never been back. My dad's story. My dad was hunting the Upper Peninsula in the 90s when I was a kid. He got in his blind early in the morning and said he heard something walking towards the blind. It stopped and started to growl. It circled his blind, growling at him, and left right before daylight. Now, I've never heard any type of animal doing that. Let me know what you think. When I mentioned the Sasquatch, he thought I was nuts, and he said it was probably a bear. Thank you for taking the time out of your day and reading these. It means a lot. I still hunt and fish, but I've been completely on edge since that day, and my life was changed when I was 17. I also told many people this story. I've been laughed at more than I can count, but now that I'm older, I couldn't care less. Half them. Thanks for all you do. Keep fighting a good fight. If you need any more warriors, Sam and I would gladly kick some ass. Thanks, Frank Spitema III. P.S. My friend Sam and I paint custom beads for steelhead and trout. We'd love to send you some to give it a try on some of the steelhead in Canada. So shoot me a reply and I'll get you some shipped out for free charge. Thanks again. All right, man. What a generous offer. Thank you very much, Francis. I appreciate that, man. And I appreciate you taking your time out of your day to email everybody through me. There isn't a game animal alive that circles your blind with a hunter in it with a gun and growls. It's just not going to happen. The second anything, as soon as something smells their scent, they're out of there, right? I've had a lot of animals, they see you, but you're frozen, but they know you're something, and they'll be real nervous, and they'll be looking at you and they'll circle all the way around till they smell you, and they'll go, oh God, it's one of those things, and they book, including grizzly bears. I've had grizzlies do that too. I've had grizzlies come up to check me out, but I know they don't have the wind yet, and they're curious, they're on their toes, they're kind of looking at you, and they'll come up to like 20 yards and start sidestepping, going around you. As soon as they get that scent, gone. So yeah, no, animals don't do a 360 around your tent and not leave in a run. They don't do that anyway. But anyway, there you go. There's some more shares. While I'm up here, maybe I'll go a little farther up the valley and see if I can find a good place to show a bit of a view, and possibly get a little more shared here today. I don't think anything's going to happen with a camera and a gun, do you?